The Avengers not only fight supervillains, but also have to deal with political issues that affect their actions. From government regulations to manipulation of power, several Avengers stories show how much influence politics has in shaping the decisions and fate of this team. For that, let's discuss 10 moments in Avengers history when politics played a significant role in their story in the Marvel Universe. The first is Civil War, or the Superhuman Registration Act event. The Civil War story began in 2006 to 2007, namely during the tragedy in Stamford, Connecticut, where the New Warriors faced the supervillain Nitro, which caused a huge explosion and killed hundreds of people, including children. This incident sparked public outrage and political pressure that led to the birth of the Superhuman Registration Act, or SRA. This law forced all superheroes to register and work under government supervision, as well as reveal their identities. When the SRA was enacted, the Avengers were divided into two camps: Iron Man, who supported registration, and Captain America, who opposed it because it was considered a violation of individual freedom. The two sides eventually faced each other in a devastating civil war. This internal conflict created a major rift between the heroes, with a fight between friends taking place in the middle of New York City. The big battle between the two camps ended with Captain America giving up after realizing that his fight was only making things worse. As a result of this conflict, the Avengers temporarily disbanded, and the political impact of Civil War continued to be felt in many Marvel stories afterward. The second was Planet Hulk, the Hulk's banishment from Earth. The Illuminati, a secret society consisting of superpowers such as Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Reed Richards, and Black Bolt, decided that the Hulk was too great a threat to Earth. After several destructive incidents involving the Hulk, they agreed to send him to a peaceful, uninhabited planet. The Hulk was lured into a rescue mission before being drugged and sent on a spaceship. The ship that was supposed to take the Hulk to a safe planet instead landed on the planet Sakaar, a place ruled by a cruel tyrant. The Hulk was forced to become a gladiator and fight for his survival. As time went on, the Hulk led a rebellion and overthrew the tyrant's rule, but he was still filled with hatred for those who had banished him from Earth. After discovering that the ship that sent him to Sakaar exploded and caused the deaths of many of his loved ones, Hulk returns to Earth in World War Hulk to seek revenge on the Illuminati. This expulsion was the result of a secret elite political decision that led to a bigger and more dangerous crisis. Third, there is the Secret Invasion event, or the formation of the Avengers Initiative. After the Skrull invasion was revealed, which caused global chaos, the United States government felt the need to take action to ensure national security. In Secret Invasion, which was released in 2008, the alien invasion that was able to disguise itself as superheroes and important figures created a deep crisis of trust. Many heroes and officials were replaced by Skrulls, creating great distrust among superheroes. To overcome this problem, the government formed the Avengers Initiative, a program that required each state to have a superhero team under the direct supervision of the government. This step was taken to prevent further infiltration and ensure that each superhero was in full control. This program introduced new teams that were more structured and controlled by the state, eliminating much of the autonomous freedom that the Avengers had previously had. This initiative is a symbol of how politics can change the dynamics of the superhero world, where heroes must obey strict rules and face a new reality controlled by the government. The fourth is Dark Reign, when Norman Osborn takes over power. After the end of Secret Invasion, Norman Osborn managed to seize the highest position of power by taking advantage of political instability and public trust. In the 2009 Dark Reign comic, Osborn replaced S.H.I.E.L.D. with a new organization called HAMMER and formed the Dark Avengers, a team of villains disguised as heroes. The government, fascinated by Osborn's success in ending the Skrull invasion, gave him full control over national security. Osborn used his position to form a narrative that he was the savior of the world, while he secretly moved his evil agenda. Many members of the Avengers were forced to go into hiding because they were now considered a threat by this new regime. Osborn's political manipulation shows how dangerous figures can use power for personal gain. The Dark Reign era is a classic example of how misguided political influence can turn heroes into enemies and cause public and government trust to be exploited by unscrupulous figures. Fifth is Avengers Under Siege. In the Avengers Under Siege storyline released in 1986, the Avengers experienced an organized attack by the Masters of Evil led by Baron Zemo. These villains carefully planned the destruction of Avengers Mansion and captured many of the team members, including Captain America. This physical and psychological destruction left deep scars on the team and exposed their vulnerabilities. After this attack, the government began to question whether the Avengers still deserved the autonomy they had. Political pressure increased as many parties demanded more oversight of the Avengers, especially after this major defeat. Many team members began to feel suffocated by the new rules imposed, while their relationship with the government became strained. uncontained. Avengers Under Siege shows how politics and public pressure can quickly turn against a superhero team that fails to carry out its duties, as well as the impact on public trust and the team's freedom to operate. Sixth is the Avengers Disassembled event, namely the internal crisis that ended the Avengers team. In Avengers Disassembled, released in 2004, the tragedy began with a series of unexplained attacks on the Avengers. From Ultron's attack to the deaths of Vision and Hawkeye, the Avengers are being torn apart from within by a mysterious force. It turns out that all of this chaos was caused by Scarlet Witch, who suffered a mental breakdown after the trauma of losing her children. This revelation leads to the inevitable destruction of the team. After all of this, the government and society began to doubt whether the Avengers could still be trusted. Political interference and increasing public pressure led the team to finally decide to disband. This is the first time the Avengers have disbanded due to such a deep internal crisis, and this disbandment has created a huge void in the superhero world. Avengers Disassembled shows how politics and external pressure can worsen an already chaotic situation, and how internal conflicts that are not handled properly can lead to total destruction. Seventh is Avengers, the Initiative, namely the government's tight supervision of young superheroes. After the Civil War event, the United States government began to take further steps to ensure full control over superheroes. In the 2007 Avengers, the Initiative comic, the SHIELD Academy was formed as a government-run young superhero training center. This academy is designed to train young superheroes with military discipline so that they are ready to join the 50-state initiative, a program that oversees superheroes in each state. These young heroes are no longer free like their predecessors, but are prepared to become state assets who follow orders and national interests. Some Avengers members are worried about this direction because they see that these young superheroes are considered more as political tools than true heroes. The emergence of the Initiative marks a new era in which superhero freedom is increasingly eroded by tight supervision. Avengers, the Initiative is evidence of how politics can turn the superhero community into part of the state's agenda, sacrificing freedom and morality for more structured control. Then the eighth is Operation Galactic Storm, namely the intergalactic political conflict and the Avengers' moral choices. The 1992 comic Operation Galactic Storm involves the Avengers in a major war between two extraterrestrial races, the Kree and the Shi'ar. When this conflict begins to threaten the survival of the universe, the Avengers find themselves faced with a difficult moral dilemma. The US government, for strategic interests, decides to support the Shi'ar, even though this decision means siding with a possibly more dangerous side. The Avengers must decide whether to follow government orders or stick to their moral principles. The team ultimately chooses to act independently and fight both sides in order to prevent further destruction. However, this decision creates tension between the Avengers and the government, who see them as a threat because they refuse to bow to political interests. This conflict highlights how political considerations can force heroes to choose between obedience to the government or maintaining their moral values, even when the world is on the brink of destruction. Ninth, there is the Siege event, namely Norman Osborn's politics and the Asgard invasion. After Dark Reign, Norman Osborn launched his plan to invade Asgard in the Siege event, which was released in 2010. With the position of power he has as the head of Hammer, Osborn uses political and military influence to persuade the government and the public that Asgard is a threat that must be destroyed. His mission is more than just a military tactic. It is a step to strengthen personal power and destroy the power of the gods that might be able to hinder him. Osborn uses his position very cunningly, deploying troops and manipulating public opinion. The Avengers, who disagree with this action, are forced to confront Osborn's regime and stop his invasion. This conflict becomes a fierce battle between heroes and corrupt forces exploited by the personal ambitions of a politician. Siege shows how misused political power can lead to war and great destruction, while the Avengers must fight against a system that has been corrupted by evil influences. And finally, there is the Acts of Vengeance event, namely when the supervillain's political plan to destroy the Avengers. In the Acts of Vengeance storyline in 1989, Loki planned a new way to destroy the Avengers by gathering various supervillains and strategizing to exchange opponents. Loki used political loopholes and manipulation of government agencies to weaken the Avengers, making them fight against enemies that were not usually their opponents. This strategy surprised the heroes because they had to face threats they did not anticipate. By controlling the course of the battle from behind the scenes, Loki managed to take advantage of the Avengers' weaknesses, while the government and the public began to doubt the team's ability to protect them. The political intrigue used by Loki managed to create an internal crisis within the team, making them have to face unpredictable enemies and external pressure. Acts of Vengeance shows how cunning political strategies can be a weapon for villains to weaken the superhero team. The Avengers have to deal with enemies who use political tactics to achieve their goals, which makes this conflict more complicated than just physical combat. So those are 10 stories or moments of the Avengers being affected by political issues that overwhelmed them. Well, since the video is already too long, just tell us your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much.